Hey guys, welcome back. So I don't have a table yet. The last video I told you I was going to buy one, and that the next video you were going to see was us going over all the fun aspects of this thing. So change of plans. I'm just going to go ahead and build a table. The table I wanted was going to be about $600 shipped, so I thought I would be a little bit more resourceful with my money. And one of the biggest factors of me changing my mind is this. So this is some weird hinged collapsible framework for a bunch of plastic banners. It's kind of heavy duty-ish. This is 15 gauge square tubing, and these little crossbars are 15 gauge as well. I got this thing for free. Not the thickest material you would want to use, but it could be worse. The good thing is there's a lot of it, so I'm going to just kind of double up on everything for rigidity's sake, because that lathe weighs over 500 pounds. So originally I was going to build an engine run stand, but I can do that later on with other stuff. So we're just going to use this. And the benefit to that is the $600 I saved, I was able to buy a portable bandsaw and one of these nifty little frames at a Harbor Freight, so I can make nice, clean, straight cuts. So this kit with the blades was like $250. So, and it's something it's another tool I've needed for a while, and now it's just another tool I have to use for cutting exhaust pipe and anything else really. So I'm going to spare you all of the measuring and details and just start cutting, and I will have a mock-up to show you how this thing is going to look and how I'm going to beef it up to support the weight of the lathe. So I'm going to start unbolting all these hinges and start cutting this thing apart. Kind of how it's supposed to look unfolded, plus the other two I already took off. Alright guys, I went a little overboard as usual. Again, this is just a mock-up. The bolt holes for the lathe are 41 inches on center. This little extra space, instead of just cutting this off, I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to put a vise right on the corner here. You can just see by the design of these old advertisement brackets, I've got little cubbies now, so that's cool. I decided to go 3 deep on that one, just because of how heavy this thing is, and this is only 12 gauge square tubing. Again, these are just popped up. These are just for show. Obviously, I'm gonna hammer them down a little bit. I may make another one of these. Again, get some cubbies on this side. And the back of the lathe ends about 7 inches past the bolt holes, so. This bracket behind it is staged, because this is going to be the last piece that goes on. This is going to be a brace that just goes against the back side at maybe mid height, just to tie all this together. But I have to remember, I have to keep it low enough for the swing on the mill head when I swing it out of the way. But as I was saying, I'm about done cutting unless I want to make another one of these. Well, guys, the table's done. I know I'm fast forwarded quite a bit, but believe me, there's a lot to talk about in building something from scratch like this, all the little tips and tricks. And the bigger problem is nobody has 6 of these specific pieces laying around, as you just saw from earlier. Other than that, you're just welding really thin metal that constantly was burning through in certain spots. Even when I was trying to tack everything on the mock-up phase, like I got it done. I got the welder set properly, but my welder only has 6 settings for the amperage, so you can't really fine tune it. It's capable, but way overkill for a project like this, but we got it done. Like I said, there's a lot I can talk about of all the little issues I had with getting it perfectly level. The floor, I had built it in place for the most part because the floor is smooth, but it's not laser level. You're not going to build something like this 8 feet away from where it's going to sit. You're going to try to build it in place. I more or less just eyeballed where I wanted it, and it worked out pretty good. But none of this was square to itself. If you understand, you understand. I've had to modify and trim and recut almost every little piece to get everything level enough to where I was okay with tacking it together. But this rear cross brace I had done last, and the welds I had on that would have been sufficient, but I wanted to go through once all of the intermediate welding was done and this table was fully solid, not a hair of a wiggle. I moved it out from here, and I went over and re-welded a lot of spots and cleaned up a lot of spots and really went crazy on welding this thing fully. And then I put it back in position, and it has a little wobble to it. But I've used a bunch of little tips and tricks to get it to level back out. So definitely out of practice as far as welding, but I fell back into my groove pretty quick. But again, it's tricky when you're dealing with something this thin. You gotta kind of move fast, and that's when you think you're good, you think you're straight, and you mess up the angle of the wand is slightly off, and you don't realize till afterwards, and your welds might look a little cold or whatever. There's a couple spots I ground down flat and redid just for appearance, I guess, but it's not that big of a deal. It's very strong. I'm not worried about it. It's holding the weight of the lathe entirely at this point. So I'm going to have a separate video on specifically how to lift this lathe, because there are no other videos out there specifically for this model. And the way the manual tells you to do it does not work. So I thought, screw it, I'll put up a video for everybody. Really the last thing to do, get all this rigging out of the way. I just got to drill some holes through the wood and through the steel. I'm just going to put 1 bolt here and 1 bolt on the backside just to keep it. I'm not going to torque it down. I'm just going to keep it snug, just a little peace of mind, just to keep this thing from being able to topple over under its own weight. Not that that's really an issue, but securing it to the table that way, it would have to take the whole table with it. So I'll go ahead and take this rigging off, and I'll show you the swing. I got it in the perfect spot, so. Go ahead and put that back on. So as you see, I can swing this out of the way, and it just touches the flag, but we're good. So now I have plenty of space to work. And it, of course, swings back. So to focus a little bit more on the design of the table, Obviously, the majority of the weight is isolated to these two spots. So I wanted to help spread that load out the best I could, which is why I decided to use 2x8s to help span everything. I did add an extra bar underneath here. Because the majority of the weight is on this section. I'd say this is probably a 75-25% weight distribution. The design is pretty much exactly as it was out there. Well guys, I had a lot of fun building this thing. I wish I could have done a little bit better documenting the whole process, but as I've already said, this is such a specific context of me using prefabbed pieces I got basically out of the trash. I hope maybe this gives you some ideas or gives you some motivation to just build something yourself. Just don't be afraid of overbuilding something. Just make sure you build it as rigidly as you can, and build it in the spot you want to put it, because you're in for an annoying surprise otherwise. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting all of the Cosmoline off of this and getting it broke in. It does work. I didn't record myself turning it on for the first time because I just wanted to see if it even worked. And at first it didn't, because I didn't have the top cover screwed down all the way. There's a circuit that grounds through the cover. So if you don't have your thumb screws down all the way, it won't turn on. So that might have taken me a very long time to figure out, but I got lucky there. But guys, as always, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm kind of all over the place, but at some point I'll get it together. And if you're a current subscriber, you're probably used to this by now. So, but with that being said, guys, keep an eye out for the other video. If you're curious on how to lift this thing and how I managed to get it up here without hurting myself or breaking anything. Well, until the next one, guys, thanks for watching.